Hello and welcome to the All Things Horror podcast with me, Amazon best-selling horror author and horror fanatic, Rick Wood, where me and my guests discuss all things horror. Coming up on today's show.
What I can say is that 90% of cases are due to something completely explainable, but 10% aren't. Who it was, we don't know, but it was very, very dark.
Welcome back to the All Things Horror podcast with me, Rick Wood. Without further ado, here is part 2 of my interview with Shani Struthers.
There was no cut, there was nothing, there was never any explanation as to where that blood came from. So, all odd, isn't it?
Do you write at night much then? Or?
I write whenever I can. I mean, I've got 3 children, a busy life.
Yeah. And I always find the best time to write horror is 1 a.m. when it's dark.
Do you? No, I never write that late. No, I'm usually conked out by that time. No, I'm actually a morning person, so I would actually rather get up about 7 o'clock and write.
Really?
So, yeah.
God, I don't know many writers who are morning people.
Yeah, I'm a real morning person. I like to sort of get my quota in. I'm quite fast.
What's your quota?
At least 5,000
a day.
Yeah, and then I get out for the rest of the day and do something. There's got to be some perks to being self-employed, you know. So, and I like to get out. I love to make the most of the day. I like the light.
Yeah.
So,
an interesting question. Go back to one about customer reviews that I like to ask another author is. What's the most ridiculous customer review you've ever had?
Oh God, I don't know.
I've had some ridiculous ones.
Have you? Like what?
I had one who on one of my books just wrote, "I don't think I ever received this DVD." I've had one where they wrote, "There should have been a disclaimer that only priests can perform exorcisms."
Yeah.
But never mind the quality of the book. God. A technicality that only priests should perform exorcisms.
Oh, for God's sake!
Even though that's explained as being sensitive.
Fiction can take liberties.
Yes, I know. What's your most ridiculous one that you can think of?
Oh God, I can't think of any. I can't think of any ridiculous ones. I mean, I've had some bad ones.
What do you do when you get a bad review? How do you take it to heart? Do you?
Well, I used to think, oh my God, But then, the more you're in this industry, the tougher you get.
About 300 plus reviews on Psychic Service, haven't you? So you got
just that's on the Amazon UK
on average
alone.
of 4 stars. That's enough to tell you that it's good, isn't it?
That's it, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to look at the balance of reviews. If I had, out of those 300 reviews, if 60-70% of them were 1, 2 and 3 star, I think, oh my God, that really was a rubbish book, let's get on with the next one. But they're not. It's a very small percentage. I have been attacked through Amazon reviews, and
I know some of them get very personal, don't you? Yeah.
And Amazon have, to their credit, removed them.
Yeah. Because
they are personal attacks, and that's really nasty and leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
And I've had people quoting parts of my books, which I think is not cool. You can say you don't like something, but to quote parts of it. I mean, were people doing kind of quoting yours, or was it kind of even more personal than that?
No, it was a personal attack on me. Basically, I'm this and I'm that, and my readers must be this and that too for reading my books. It wasn't even a verified bloody purchase, you know. It's like, but you get that. So Amazon do listen to you regarding that, but obviously, if it's a valid review and just someone doesn't like you, that's fine. Do you know, I've learned a lot from the poor reviews. Sometimes I've learned a lot. I'm thinking, right, okay, that's annoyed you about my book. I'm going to take that on board for the next book. I have learnt from these. I don't mind when they're constructive. You know, as a writer, you are constantly learning. You are constantly learning your craft, trying to get better, etc.
It hurts most when they're right, doesn't it? When the negative customer is right.
And not so much this hasn't happened with recent books, but in the past I thought, that niggled me as well when I was writing it, and you've picked up on that, so I know you're right. But no, I'm happy to report that most reviews are absolutely brilliant, and I'm so grateful for anyone who does take the time to review. because I never used it before I was an author. I didn't realise how important it was.
Who reviews things? Only people with very extreme opinions will review something.
Yeah.
I've had another person say they deleted it off their Kindle in disgust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just imagine it going, delete.
Yeah.
Oh, disgust.
I know. Oh, I'm disgusted of Brighton.
I mean, it's just a book. It's not.
I know. That's one thing actually with reviews. Sometimes the anger that comes through,
Yeah.
like you say, it must be, and I think it's just a book. If you don't like it, don't read it to the bitter end. You know. So I don't understand that. I've read plenty of books, and if I don't consider them to be a 3-star or above read, I don't review. Okay, so I don't review. Often I don't finish. I'm not one of these ones that thinks I've got to get through to the bitter end. I'm not like that. I just think, well, no, it's not grabbing me. You haven't grabbed me by about 5 chapters in, then you're not going to. Yeah. So I'm going on to the next one. But thanks anyway. But no. Yeah. But it's subjective, and that's what we've all got to remember. One person loves you, another person hates you. When you put a book out there, I often say, there it goes, to be savaged or adored. One of the two, And you've got to take that as a writer. You have to take that. You've got to take it on the chin. You've got to move on.
I mean, some are kind of deserved when someone doesn't properly edit their book or proofread it, and in which case they're ruining the indie industry and they need to.
I put a lot of efforts. I get them edited. I get them. They go through several beta readers first, who pick up so much. Then they go for editing. And
beta readers are the best, aren't they?
Yeah, beta readers are great. I mean, I never put a book out there without getting it, beta read. And then it goes through an editing process, and then I go through a time. And by the time I've finished with this book, I detest every word, because I know it all off by heart, and I've had to sit there and read it over and over and over again, and I'm pretty good at catching stuff now, and it's a polished product that goes out, and it should be. Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm reading a few books at the moment which aren't polished, and they should be. There is no excuse.
Amazon have a thing, don't they, where they will mark up if a book has mistakes in it.
Yes.
Just want to fix it, which I really like, because I don't want to have to go through looking for errors in my books. It means they just tell me and I can fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good thing. Yeah.
But no, as indies, it's our duty to produce a polished product that is on a par with those traditionally published, and actually sometimes it exceeds. I think nowadays with some authors, and. Because believe me, I've read a lot of traditionally published books, especially from the small press, that need an editor. Yeah. Good editing, anyway.
Let's talk about psychic surveys a bit more then. So, takes place in Brighton, which is your hometown and where you've lived all your life. Was it important to you to set it in Brighton?
Well, it's set between Brighton and Lewes, which is a town 5 miles away. So it's set locally. Obviously, I know Lewes. I used to work in Lewes. I know Lewes as well as I know Brighton. So yes, I suppose I was adhering to the adage, write what you know about. So I wasn't going to set it somewhere I didn't know intimately, hence the setting. Plus, it's a great setting. I love Brighton. I love Lewes. I love Sussex. And it's a hotbed of iniquity, really. Sussex.
You even reference to it though, the pier and the arson that happened on the pier, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Though compared to, I don't know, if you take my book, that's a massive exorcism horror, lots of destroying demons, a devil invading hell. It's probably quite, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of tame compared to kind of big exorcism as well. But I suppose that's because you're trying to make it more realistic.
And that's one thing that constantly comes through in reviews and from reader feedback, is that it's so real. What you're writing about, you make it seem so real. It doesn't come across as fantasy. But, of course, it's not fantasy for me. It is real. And that's what I try to... That's my aim. And sometimes I think that can be more frightening, because it is real. And it sounds real when you're... it feels real when you're reading about it. Whereas the big exorcism stuff, it does give you a bit of a thrill at the time, but a little bit, exorcisms aren't actually, no. I mean, they're not.
I suppose you've got to think
plenty
about
of deliverance now, they call it, isn't there? There's plenty of deliverance going on. I know a deliverance priest.
Really?
Yeah, and I've chatted to him on several occasions, and he's told me some fascinating things. So,
what kind of things do he tell you?
Well, I mean, I suppose they're sort of classified, but basically, what I can say is that 90% of cases are due to something completely explainable, but 10% aren't.
Interesting.
So,
I mean, horror for me, when I read or watch horror, it's always better if it's something that could happen. If it goes really into the realms of unrealistic, that's when it starts being horrifying. So I guess you do read your book thinking that could legitimately should be.
It's almost very human. My take on it, considering I'm doing the spirit world, it's actually a very human take on it, I think.
And you have a character who is haunting. What's the name of the place? The Hall in the first one.
The Haunting of Highdown Hall.
Yes, which was Cynthia Hart. I looked her up, who's an actress from like the 30s, 40s, 50s. I looked her up on IMDb, and she doesn't exist. So is she actually based on anyone real?
She's based on, the name is my grandmother's name, Cynthia Hart, which I think is a fabulous name. So it's nice to know that I've immortalised her in print. The character who it's based on was a cross between Vivien Leigh and Marilyn Monroe. And it's based... Highdown Hall is based on Laurence Olivier's and Vivien Leigh's house near Black Boys.
Oh, right.
They had a house there, and it was actually inherited by a friend of a friend of a friend, and there was a very dark presence there that had to be exorcised, and who it was we don't know, but it was very, very dark. So that's what inspired...
So that is very, very similar to the story.
Yeah, that's what inspired the book. I knew this story.
Did you go visit there?
Yes, Tickeridge.
Were you there while this presence was there?
No. Unfortunately, it had all been dealt with, and it's absolutely fine now.
Yeah.
But the strange thing is, I went to visit it after I'd written the book, and the way I'd only ever heard the story, and the story was something that inspired the Highdown Hall. And then a couple of years later, after the book came out, I said to my partner, come on, let's go and have a look. Let's find this place and go for a walk by it, which we did. And it was exactly as I described it, in the book. And there's a little lake by it with a boat bobbing about and willow trees, and that was exactly like it was in real life. And it's like, oh, gosh, that's odd. So yeah, but it's been a good book to me, that one. It's done me well and done me proud, and I love that book. It was a book that started it all. It's my favourite of my books, really. Yeah.
And you've got a new series coming up called The Haunted World.
It's called This Haunted World, and it's a new series. I've only got 2 books in it at the moment. The Venetian is the first one, and the second one is The 11th Floor, and it's a series of standalone books. They'll all be set in and around the world's most haunted places, and they'll mix fact with fiction.
So you've spoken about how you've been kind of brought up with an understanding of the occult and alternative views of religion.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? What was the kind of how were you brought up? Who introduced this to you?
My mum, very interested in the spiritual world, very interested in alternative religions. She was heavily into Wicca when she was younger, and indeed was a high priestess in Wicca. And she brought me up, I suppose, to sort of think outside of your normal bog standard religions, and to look and to see where all religion comes from as well, because actually they all come from a very similar place. The sort of the virgin birth wasn't new to Catholicism. So she sort of brought me up like that, also with this love of nature and natural stuff and the spirit world, and not to fear the spirit world, that it makes sense if we have a material world, why shouldn't we have a spiritual world? The two coexist side by side. Not for your knee-jerk reaction to always be fear when talking about the spiritual world or ghosts or whatever, but more of an understanding.
That really comes across in the book as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of belief.
That's the entire angle. With the This Haunted World books, I can afford to go a little bit more horror, edging towards horror. But with the Psychic Surveys book, no, that is the angle that they're written from. But of course, this is a world of balance. We've got, where there is good, there is evil. Where there is construction, there is destruction. You can go on and on like that. There is balance. So, of course, Ruby and the team, whilst forging ahead with their vision, which is to help grounded souls and move them towards the light, of course they will encounter stuff that doesn't come from the light at all.
I'm always quite envious of people who kind of believe in life after death, I guess, just because I believe when we're dead and it's done, and it's a very miserable thing to believe, but I just can't believe anything else. And I'm always really jealous.
See, I can't believe that.
So I'm always really jealous when someone doesn't believe that death is the end and that they think there's more, because
there is nothing that you can say to me that will disprove that instinct or that belief, because for me it is instinctive, and it just makes the most perfect sense that we have varied experiences.
You've got some links with other, dare I say, horror authors. Is it exclusively horror? Is it kind of a little bit broader, more maybe paranormal?
Yeah, a little bit broader.
So the story, I can't read my own writing.
Storyland Press is, well, actually, no, it's broader. Storyland Press is a cooperative, Brighton cooperative of, at the moment it's me and two other writers, Veronica McGivney, who's multi-genre, and Corinna Edwards-College, who does have quite a strong paranormal theme going through her books. We're a support system, basically. We haven't really got it off the ground yet because we've been so busy with our own books, but it's something that we're going to take forward in the future, but it's all set up and raring to go. So that's the local cooperative that I'm part of, but I'm also part of a larger national cooperative called Authors Reach, through which I publish all my books. We're bigger than a lot of small publishers. There's several of us in it, including Veronica and Corinna, Richard Hardy, Gina Dickerson, Catriona King, Sarah England.
Sarah, whom of course I'm interviewing in a few weeks as well, yes.
That's right. And, some of us are in it just for mutual support, author support, but others in Authors Reach use it in order to publish our books. We have the same sort of deals that a publisher would strike with, Clays, who are the printer of books, Gardners, who are the distributor of books. We're getting into bookshops or you can order us from bookshops with only a day's wait, etc. So, it's looking good, and again, it will expand as we go forward.
Excellent, and it's not just for authors. You've got a Facebook group as well that you've set up.
Yes, I've only just set that up. You can find it. It's Shani Struthers and the Paranormal World.
Not Shani Struthers, Shani Struthers Paranormal.
I should put a Y in there. Shani, shouldn't I? Shani Struthers and the Paranormal World. So look for it on Facebook and join us if you like. And hopefully you will too, Rick.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I'd like to sort of showcase other horror stroke paranormal authors within the group, because there's a lot of avid readers of that genre. As an avid reader myself, always looking for the next good book.
And tell us about your next book. What's your next project you got coming up?
Next project is Rosamond, which is an addition to the Psychic Surveys companion novels. And that's, as I mentioned before, that's Ruby Davis's great-grandmother, and it goes back to the mid-1800s, which is an era I've never written about before, and I'm loving it, actually. The dark, smoky Victorian Gothic stuff, brilliant, and all the spiritualism.
It's a Victorian setting, is it?
It will be, yes.
I'd love to write something kind of.
I'm loving
setting,
it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. There's a friend of mine, a lovely lady who specialises in that era, called Rumour Haven, another author, and so I'm going to get her to beta read it if she will. Hint, hint, Rumour, because she is just fantastic. Her books are set in that era, some of them, and she just gets it spot on. So, but yeah, it's the first time I've ever done, my books are modern day, books. So it's the first time. So it's I'm loving it though. I don't think it'll be the last. And then after that, it's Psychic Surveys, book 6, which is Legion, which is going to be very dark. I don't know who will survive that book. And then we go on to series 2.
You're hinting there might be some big changes.
I don't know yet. I don't know. See, I never know until I've written it, because I only have the basic idea of a story.
Do you not plan? You're a pantser.
I'm a pantser. Yeah, I don't plan. I've tried planning. I tried with the 11th floor. I literally, there's about 10,000 word plan.
How do you? I mean, if I didn't plan, I would get writer's block. How do you?
How do I do it?
Without knowing where you're going next, how do you?
It just happens that way for me. Sometimes I'll sit down to the next chapter and I think, what the hell? Where's it going to go? Then I think, just don't think about it, just write. Just do it. Just let it come. And, what's wonderful is I get surprised too, as well as the reader.
Because the book, I read the first Psychic Surveys, one thing I'd say about it is it's very well structured. It's got a definite story arc to it.
I'm quite good at structure, I've been told by my various editors, which I'm really pleased about.
And
honestly,
it reads like something that you planned.
No, I never planned a word.
Oh, wow.
But honestly, I planned the 11th floor, and 10,000 words went into that plan. And after about chapter 3, I'd completely veered off.
That's too much planning.
Yeah, it was too much. Yeah, obviously it probably went overboard there, but no, I couldn't do it. But as I go along, I have, I can do that. Oh, there's a thread I can pull out. Oh, yeah. So I make little notes.
Does a lot come in perhaps the rewriting, the editing process as well? Kind of.
And I have been told again, perhaps if I planned, there wouldn't be so much to come in the rewrite. But
there's nothing wrong with having.
Yeah, but actually, I don't mind. I don't mind it that stage, because you have to get to know your story, don't you?
Yeah.
And it takes a little while, and with the rewrite, I can really get into it in depth and really learn about the story and what I'm trying to say and the characters. Yeah, it's good fun.
Awesome. So, where can people find you then?
Down the pub. No, they can. Or in the local wine bar. No, I'm on Facebook. Shani Struthers author is my author page, funnily enough.
.com.
My website is www.shanistruthers.com.
Okay.
And if you subscribe to my website, you get a free copy of Eve, which is a prequel to Psychic Surveys. So if you go to the website, you'll see that offer. I'm on Twitter, but I never go on Twitter because I can't bear it. And I'm on Instagram, but I barely go on that either. So Facebook, really, and my website.
Lovely. So we did the pub, the website, or the Facebook.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's me.
Right. Thank you very much, Shani.
Shani, you're never going to get it. No one does. Don't worry.
I'm just so used to that. So I'm interviewing Shani. Now I've got.
Oh, it's been lovely talking to you, Rick.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed recording it. Shani was absolutely lovely to speak to, and she made a good cup of coffee. What else can you look for in a person? Coming up in a few weeks' time, the first Friday of November, will be part 1 of my interview with Stephen Jenkins, author of Burn the Dead, a zombie novel, and also some ghost novels and vampire dystopian novels. I went down to South Wales the other day for that, and that was a really interesting interview for you to listen to. Meanwhile, this is coming out on the 19th of October, which means it is exactly 1 week until the release of After the Devil Has Won. My post-apocalyptic novel will be out on Friday 26th, so please do go have a read of that. I will speak to you on the first Friday of November. Goodbye.